had to go back and pick it up. Welcome to today, Monday, October 19th. But I want to go back to some of the things that happened this weekend, and perhaps one of the funnest to be a part of this weekend was UWF's ring ceremony, where I was able to get a football here from the championship. So I appreciated UWF getting a football here, and so I was able to certainly attend part of that ring ceremony. I wish we were playing football this year, but it was at least nice to get the ring ceremony. And remember, as I told Martha, we're going to be champs for 2 years. So we're going to be the reigning champion here for 2 years. But that was a very nice ceremony. I also just want to say how much I appreciated to have the opportunity to be at a prayer service with the PPD on Saturday morning, and then really had a chance to go have a good fish fry lunch with the guys that are working at Sanitation. They've been working very diligently. We're going to go over some of the things that they've been doing and taking care of in getting us taking care of all our debris picked up. So we got a lot of things that are happening, but a lot of good stuff. We have one little problem issue we wanted to go ahead. We've received reports callers are experiencing issues connecting to some City of Pensacola and Pensacola Police Department phone lines when calling from a landline. 911 is not impacted. Callers may still reach impacted phone lines by calling from a cell phone instead of a landline, and the City of Pensacola is working with our phone vendor to resolve this issue. Impacted lines include Pensacola Police Department excluding 911, City Hall, City of Pensacola Community Resource Centers, and Public Works and Facilities. These phone lines are currently unable to receive incoming calls from landlines. Pensacola Energy, City of Pensacola Sanitation Services, and Pensacola International Airport phone lines are not impacted. So again, if you have a cell phone, you can call any of these places. 911 is not impacted, but there are some places if you're trying to call and you're having problems from a landline. We are experiencing some problems, and we're going to work to resolve as fast as we can. Another big thing today, starting with talking about our sanitation, recycling resumes today, and I really appreciate ECUA. I know I talked last week with Bruce Woody, who indicated that they had been starting last week with theirs and are going to be starting this week with City of Pensacola and other places. We tried to communicate out some last week, but I appreciate the chance here. If you put the brown can out today, we asked that, or this week, we asked that you only have recyclables, because it will be back to recycling. So again, we will pick up your brown can with recyclables and take them to the ECUA facility. It is back open and up and running, so we really appreciate that. Again, that's happening here Monday, October 19th. That was, again, about 1 month, and they had us back up and running. So really appreciate ECUA's work on that. City Sanitation customers will receive recycling pickup on the normal day. Recycling was temporary on hold due to Hurricane Sally, and again, within a month, we've gotten this back open, so we really appreciate ECUA doing that. Customers are reminded to place only recyclable materials in their tan recycling containers. Please visit cityofpensacola.com to view a list of recyclable items. So we are back again to recyclables. Recycling in city facilities. We've also kicked off our new Pensacola Recycles program internally at the city to promote and encourage recycling within City of Pensacola buildings and facilities, including City Hall. As far as debris pickup, City of Pensacola and sanitation crews and contractors have continually picked up curbside debris. They've been working for 28 straight days without a break. They have collected 9,438 loads, totaling approximately 414,293 cubic yards since Monday, September 21st. So we've just been doing this for 4 weeks, and that's what we've collected. We should have made a first pass when I was talking with John, with everyone. If we have not gotten you, please get with us or City of Pensacola 311 or Sanitation Services, and we will make sure that we do believe should have picked everybody's first, and we're still out there picking up second debris pickups. We have 59 contract crews and 11 city crews currently working throughout the city to complete the first sweep. Once crews complete the first sweep, we will begin second and third sweeps to collect additional debris from curbsides and right-of-ways in city limits. Debris pickup will be ongoing. The second and third sweeps are expected to be completed in late November. We will notify the public before making any final debris collection sweeps. To stay informed, sign up for email or text notifications at cityofpensacola.com or follow the City of Pensacola on Facebook. We appreciate your patience, and the crews are working hard, and they're in every neighborhood in the city, and they're collecting a significant amount of debris. As you probably saw, we increased. I think last week I talked to us about increasing our expected collection from 350,000 cubic yards to 500,000 cubic yards. So we've been out there. We know you've got a lot of debris, and we're picking it up as fast as we can. Neighborhood cleanups. The mayor's neighborhood cleanup, originally scheduled for Saturday, October 31st, has been rescheduled to Saturday, December 19th. As a reminder, the September neighborhood cleanup that was also scheduled will take place Saturday, November 21st. So if you were in September, we are going to do yours on Saturday, November 21st. That's the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and then it looks like if you were the October, we're going to do you the Saturday on December 19th before Christmas. So we will get both of those cleanups in. We appreciate your patience, and then in January we'll start all over back with the beginning of the zone. So we appreciate your understanding and working with us. Bayou Tahar Stormwater Treatment Enhancement Project is completed. We're pleased to announce that the construction of Bayou Boulevard, Perry, Blunt, and Avery outfalls at Bayou Tahar Stormwater Treatment Enhancement Projects has been completed. The project provides groundwater stormwater treatment units for these drainage subbasins that previously discharged untreated stormwater runoff directly into the bayou. The completion of this project is an integral part of the city's ongoing water quality improvement program and will serve many benefits to the environment. It is estimated that treatment units will collectively capture approximately 10 tons of pollutant solids annually. So a lot of things that are happening there. In addition to providing stormwater, previous issues with standing water along the shoulder of Bayou Boulevard have been addressed through this project, and I appreciate to see Derek back there. I knew that was one of the things that I was asking him to do, and appreciate that getting fixed. So we're very happy about that. Hurricane Sally storm shows stormwater improvements in Pensacola after Pensacola 2014 flood really worked. I'm proud to announce that our stormwater systems held during Hurricane Sally thanks to significant stormwater improvements implemented by the City of Pensacola Public Works and Facilities Department after the historic 2014 flood. Now, I'm not saying we didn't have flooding, because we did have some areas, but we had no failures in any of our places. During the major rainfall event of 2014, we had 18 major stormwater facilities in the City of Pensacola were overwhelmed and significantly compromised by 20 plus inches of rainfall. During Sally, all 18 of these stormwater facilities held strong with no integrity issues. The stormwater systems are able to handle significantly more water due to improved and expanded infrastructure, particularly systems that went back to after the 2014 flood. Since 2014 flood, the city has spent approximately $37 million in infrastructure upgrades in Pensacola's four basins, which are Pensacola Bay, Escambia Bay, Long Hollow, and Bayou Chico. With the amount of rainfall our area received from Hurricane Sally, it could have easily been another catastrophic flooding event. However, really appreciate the work that was done. Again, we know there are many areas that saw impacts during the hurricane, but we were pleased that none of our, we didn't see any significant stormwater impacts blowing out of any systems, and I was pleased to see our stormwater improvement paid off. We will continue to work throughout the city to make additional flooding mitigation and stormwater improvements moving forward, and we are already in the process of trying to address some of those. Hitzman Park improvements. The Hitzman Park Improvement Project is expected to begin Monday, October 26th, so next Monday. It will include athletic fields, a walking trail, parking, restrooms, concession, and stormwater facilities. Construction is expected to be completed by spring of 2001. City meetings this week, we have several. We have City Council agenda conferences today and CRA will take place at 3:30 in Council Chambers here at City Council. The Citizens Police Advisory Committee meeting will take place tomorrow, Tuesday, October 20th at 5:30 in this room on the second floor at Hagler Mason. The regular City Council meeting will take place Thursday, October 22nd at 5:30 in Council Chambers. Members of the public may attend City Council meetings and other city meetings in person. However, there will be limited seating capacity consistent with CDC guidelines. Attendees will be required to sit at least 6 feet apart and wear face coverings that cover their mouth and nose. Members of the public are also able to attend and participate via live stream or phone. For more information about how to participate, please refer to each meeting agenda. And then finally, I guess with our COVID-19 numbers, we have 12,989 positive cases, 11,733 are residents. Again, the latest update shows about our positivity rate at 3.58%. Again, this is still bounced around under 5%. We had October 14th, 6.1, then 2.84, then 4.43 on the 16th. So again, we are continuing to see that, under that 5%, which is a manageable area that we can work with. The same thing is happening with our hospitalizations. They continue to hover between 40 and 50. At our 3 local hospitals, we went from the 13th, we had 44, 14th, 42, on the 15th, 43, and on October 16th, we had 42. So again, we continue to see those stay in those same areas. So we're asking that you continue to work within the guidelines that are there. By no means is COVID over, but we do believe we've been more successful at figuring out how to manage and keep businesses open. We've now been able to open city facilities, other things, and been able to do it in a way that has kept the COVID numbers down, and we're going to continue to try to do that. So with that, that's all the things that we had discussed today. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. I see Andrew first, and condolences to your Tigers. So
and Jim, Jim too. So on the EC-way recycling, historically there's been a problem of contamination and thresholds for rejection of loads. Is there any grace period on a lower or a more liberal standard for that, or are they just...
EC-way hasn't told us anything. They told us they're looking at all their stuff. And they do expect some of that. They've been evaluating their load. That's going to be a question more up to them and how they handle it. We would ask, we're trying to remind city residents, only recyclables in the tan can. So you can go back to putting out the tan can, but please only put it out with recyclables. Starting this week, we will be picking up recyclables. Those questions I would defer to Bruce and his team, and they'd have to answer those questions.
City parks, when should we expect them to open again?
We are in the process of opening those. I think now that we've getting the first run passed, we're already starting to move some of those crews into getting work done into the various parks. We've opened some of the parks. So some parks are open, but we're working on other ones. Clearly this morning I got a citizen who was upset about a dog park and that we hadn't gotten any of those. I sent that to Brian. But I think Brian's crews have been working in conjunction with getting everything cleaned up. And about last week, we sort of turned them loose on parks and told them go back out and get your parks back open. So we've opened some of them. I don't have a list of what's open and what's not, but Casey, we can work with Brian to get that list. But I know we should be working as diligent as we can. And along those lines, I know that East Hill Neighborhood Association, I really want to thank them. Take the moment. I appreciate you bringing this up to thank them. I know they were doing a project on the dog park there, doing some volunteer work to help us get that back open. And so hopefully that will be opening soon. And then obviously I know we've got the one up there at Vickery as well. So we'll look to try to get some of those dog parks back open and work through it. Really at this point, I mean, everybody's been asking us to get the first pass of debris. So we've been very focused on trying to get debris out. Now we're able to take some crews, begin to look at our own parks. We started that last week. And I think over the next couple of weeks, we should have all our parks back open.
On the coronavirus numbers, it looks like the overall numbers are up 80% over the previous week. Do you know why that is? And then are you worried about it? You're talking about just the you're talking about just the raw case numbers. Yeah. I mean, I have heard there was a data dump that happened in there. Again, from those
that's not uncommon during this process. We've seen those. It does create challenges. It's one of the reasons we have not focused on just positive cases. We've really chosen to focus on hospitalizations, because we know we get that number daily from hospitals, and that's really been the number we've been more focused on. Is it a result of some of the challenges we've had in a number of different things? I mean, we'd have to wait and see. Is it data? Is it actual cases? I don't know, but I haven't seen it translate into hospitalizations, although our hospitalizations, again, ever since September 21st, a month ago, we got down to 41, and then we bounced up between basically 40 and 55. So whatever it is, we've just kind of been at the same process. We haven't gone down, but we haven't gone up. And I think when you look at some of the other numbers, they're kind of consistent. I'd heard there was some data collection that aggregated into last week. So was that previous weeks that tied into that? It's not the first time this has happened during COVID. It's unfortunate, but again, we don't control the testing and the reporting. And so what we've chosen to focus on is the number we think that we get more accurate in hospitalizations have been that for us. Yes?
I have a question from Channel 3 and also from Jeremy.
Okay.
From Channel 3, can the mayor talk about today's council discussion on the ferry and the ferry boat from NYC that is in the area?
Okay. I don't know of anything with a ferry boat from, I guess, New York City. Is that what that was supposed to mean? I don't know of anything with that. I know there have been multiple ferry providers who have been in here over the last couple of weeks. We've had them work with Clark Merritt at the port, and so they could look at our facilities. We will continue to do that. We have put up facilities for that. Our facilities have been completed and repaired and ready to receive ferries. So the City of Pensacola is up and ready to go. The challenge becomes what's going to happen with the ferry overall system. Part of that is significant investment that was required from Gulf Breeze, although I continue to hear there are different versions, perhaps, no pun intended, but there could be some barges that could be connected to the pier and make it easier for people to get out there and make it faster and not as expensive. Again, these are discussions that are happening between DOT and the City of Gulf Breeze. We have not had direct connection or discussion on those, but we are ready to help if one comes about. The other thing is obviously the condition of what it would cost. We think that would have to be borne by some. Our feeling was certainly DOT was the one, but they were going to look to get it from Scansco. I think that would be a fair position. I think we've said the same thing last week at our meeting, but we don't control that, so we're still waiting to see what happens. What we have done in the City of Pensacola is we are happy to receive any charter boats at those places. All we don't ask for payment. We do ask for them to sign a waiver with us on liability, but if they do that, they are able to access our dock. Again, we realize we see it as a community asset that needs to be utilized, and if it's a ferry, we would love a big ferry system, but if it's just using our assets for charters, we'll be willing to do that. The only thing we ask is that the charters enter into a liability contract with us, and then that would be it from our standpoint. But we're also still, if we do get a regular ferry, we are still looking to have a place for charters to go over by Maritime Park. So again, we're creating assets that we hope people will use one way or the other. We are not going to be the one. The City of Pensacola can't afford to pay for the ferry, so it's really going to have to be dependent on something else. I clearly believe that ferry should be paid for by Skanska, but I'm not the one that has a contract with them. You said Jeremy had a question.
Yeah, and it's somewhat related. Can the mayor speak a bit about the dock being discussed by CRA today and how it'll figure into water taxi service?
The dock being discussed by CRA is the dock that we talked about making at, which we're going to look to do at the Maritime Park and putting in a marina there. We've been talking about a day-use marina there for some time. Why not get started and at least have a place that, again, charter or other boating facilities could dock up to. Obviously, if we get a major ferry, it would really have the Convidencia slip. That would be its main place. So we need to look for a different place, and that's what you're going to see coming tonight. Again, our goal is to put out as many assets as we can for citizens. We want to figure out a way to make it easier for you to move back and forth. But we don't control everything outside of the assets we have at the landing side and the parking lots. But what we have in our parking facilities, what we have in our landing assets, we think we can at least be a player, and we're going to put those together and put them out there for usage. And tell Jeremy we miss him today. He was the only one that got the email right last week, but we've got lots of media here today, and Jeremy's not here, so he loses his gold star from last week.
Follow up on the water taxi dock is if the CRA approves that tonight, when will it be out?
I know that David Forte was working on that. I don't know how fast. They thought it was a couple of weeks or something.
Yeah, we were hoping by the end of this month, but it's moved a little slower than that. But it's a matter of weeks, not months.
Yeah. So again, the hope was what Keith indicated was that it would be up and running by October 31st. It looks like probably another week into November, and really depend on what we get back from council tonight. But again, I think at this time it's better to put more assets out there, give citizens those opportunities, especially as we go into as we look toward the beginning of the year when it's always amazing. It'll be in the fall. We've had perfect weather and not as many people want to go to the beach. You get a sunny day in January and all of a sudden everybody decides they want to go to the beach. We're just trying to figure out some things that we have, and again, the biggest thing we want to do is continue to figure out whatever we can support so that the DOT and their contract partners can get this finished up by March. We had a meeting last week with them, and they still believe they have a timeline that they were putting out, and I think, Casey, we were getting some stuff from them that we were going to put out on our website as well, some media information from DOT.
Yes, it's on our website.
So it's on our website. We're trying to communicate what they put out and everything that we're in right now. We're still on track to meet those deadlines that they want to make. So everything is still progressing along, and we're trying to support DOT in any way we can. Yes?
Mayor, at the city's zoning board of adjustment this coming Wednesday, there's an application in for a accessory dwelling, also known as a tiny house. This would be one of the first here in Escambia County. Without prejudging the application, where do you see tiny houses less than 400 square feet fitting into the mix?
Well, John, and I don't want to get into because those would be a quasi-judicial hearing, so I don't want to get into the specifics of what's happening. But I do think tiny houses overall, I think our concept we've tried to endorse in moving forward as far as what we think can provide some housing. We've worked with some things with Jonathan. I believe there are going to come some things in code that are going to make it easier for people to do tiny houses coming up the first of the year. We've been working with a couple people who have expressed an interest. Our feeling is they could be very much in the way of a quadruplex or some kind of small multifamily facility and actually provide that housing. We have generally looked at probably size that we want to limit it to. We're not wanting to overrun an area with those things. I think probably 12 and under are the number of units that would be manageable. I think that people could manage, but it's no different than having an 8-plex or 12-plex of multifamily, and you see some of those around town, and we think this could be another efficient method to working with housing. So we're open to it. So from that standpoint, we're open, and we want to figure out a way to make it happen. I think our bigger concern is congregation, much like multifamily. I mean, we like multifamily, but we got to watch out on how much you put into one area or where you put it. So again, those are some things where we're probably going to be looking at. But I think we've said it for a long time. There's not a single solution to getting us out of the problems that we have. It's going to be a lot of different solutions. So we're going to endorse and look at tiny homes in a small we're not saying tiny homes are going to solve everything, but we are saying tiny homes is going to be a part of our solution. We've got other things that will be a part of the solution, and all of them working together will hopefully give us what we want. Yes?
I have another question from Jeremy. Is the mayor in favor or opposed to extending the mask order?
I mean, at this particular time, I mean, we'll see where we go with this. I think the challenge of what we're seeing, I believe masking is the correct practice that we need to continue to do as a community. And we will continue to do that one way or another at the city. So, I mean, from that standpoint, it's not a question of mask. They are effective and what can be done. I think the question becomes the effectiveness of mandate. I think what we're seeing right now is the mandate is not pushing our numbers any lower. You know, is it keeping our numbers from going higher? We don't know. I mean, those are things we'd have to figure out. But the mandate has not enabled us to go lower. We've been in a month, we've been at the same numbers on hospitalizations. So at this point, I think the practice of masking is absolutely something that everybody should do, and I think the city will continue to do that. Whether we need to mandate it or not, I mean, in some ways, those things have already become challenging by where the governor's taken, but that will be up to council to figure out where they go. But I mean, we said as much 4 months ago. 4 weeks ago, we said it's probably the effectiveness of the mandate is probably reached its peak. On the night we voted, the next morning we were at 41. That's the lowest we've been. So it didn't help us go any lower by continuing the mask mandate. Mask practicing should absolutely be carried on, and we should continue to do that. So I think there are two different points related to mask. I think you have to separate them because people want to put them together, and by no means, we believe masks have worked. We were using masks at the City Hall 2 months before we even had a mandate. So we will continue to see the function of using a mandate and I mean the function of using a mask and continuing to do that. Is the mandate beneficial? You know, I don't know. I mean, that's where we've seen our numbers bounce. It's hard to say. Did they stop it from going up? It's hard to say that. They didn't continue to make it go down. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens as we go forward. But I think that's where we are. You know, if it's up to me, and I've talked with the hospitals about this, I think if we had a situation with a mandate that was somewhere between 50 and 75, and wherever we were between those numbers in whichever direction, if we're going down, we keep the mandate until we get to 50. 50, we would lift it, and we'd wait until things got up to 75. If they went over 75, then we'd institute it back in. I think the question becomes, what's going to happen? I know a lot of people think somehow COVID's going to be over. I think as we've gotten 7 months into it, it's much of what I've been saying 7 months ago. I think we're going to have to learn to live with this. And we're going to have to learn to live that there will be times where it is almost essential that everyone wear a mask, and then there will be times where it can be more lax. But at the end of the day, I believe masking is effective use, and we'll continue to practice it at City Hall and city facilities. But at the same time, whether the mandate is effective, I think the mandate needs to fluctuate for times that we actually need it, because otherwise it's a tool. And if we've used it and our numbers went up, we would be in a position where we couldn't rebound and had nothing more to use. So that's been my position on mandate. You know, that would be my goal, is what I would see us happen in an implementation for understanding where we do going forward. And again, we've sort of bounced along in the same place for the last month. And so I think masks are incredibly important. I think the mandate is important at certain times, but there are other points where it's not helping us achieve more of what we want. So I think those are things we'll have to look at. Yes?
When you're talking about the water taxis, is that going to just private docks? Is that
it doesn't have to go to private docks. It could go to public facilities. We're certainly allowing it to go to public facilities.
I mean, on the Gulf Breeze side.
I mean, there are public facilities at Pensacola Beach, so I mean, it's not just limited to Gulf Breeze.
I thought that dock was damaged. Is it back to being usable again?
There are other places that my understanding that have been willing to take charter docks at places. I think there's one at Hemingway's, and there's also one at one inside Sabine. So I mean, both those places we've heard are willing to take people and drop them off. I don't think they're necessarily berths, but there were places that people could could be dropped off and picked up at. Yes, Dave?
Back to the mask ordinance, didn't the governor render it moot when he took all the enforcement requirements out?
For the most part, he did. I mean, there's still he was silent on businesses, which means we can still require businesses, and we've sent code out there to talk to businesses. I think if you talk to Tommy, there was about a week where there was real confusion. For the most part, Tommy's not the one that we're trying to get, PPD is not who we're trying to get to address businesses, typically code. But I've talked with Steve Richards, and he agrees there was kind of a time period where right after the governor's thing, it was kind of like people weren't really sure in how it was implemented. We have gone to several businesses and reminded them that there is still a mask ordinance, and as long as there is one, we will remind businesses. We still have not defined any businesses. Typically what we do with code is we go educate the business, tell them what's going on, and they've generally complied. So at this point, we've continued to have compliance for every business we've gone to.
Mayor, the city council is also going to discuss this week a new hotel behind, I guess, where Holiday Inn is on Port property.
Yeah.
What is your thoughts on that?
It's interesting. I think that I think this is sort of the idea we've been trying to communicate is that we need to find a way to move the port to some non-traditional, non-maritime uses, and we're looking at those things. And one of those would be that hotel. It could really bring revenue to the port and make it successful and allow us to begin to really see what the northern half of the port could be. Now, right now, thank God the northern half of the port is where it is, because that's where we've ended up taking half of all of our debris. But we've had that, we ended up, the northern part of the port worked out well because it's taken half of our debris, the other half's gone to the airport. So thank goodness we had it. But ultimately, long term, we'd love to see some traditional uses that would not be inside the fence line on that northern part. And we really think to begin that process, we need to have a good funding source to do that. So I mean, looking at it seemed like a natural position was to work with this and what came in. So that was exciting. The only problem that I think we have a little bit with this is it happened to come at the same time that we're trying to pursue everything at Maritime Park. And I think we obviously started making a commitment within the hotel side. Now again, the hotel had kind of been talking to us off and on over there by the, we'd actually talked to them fairly significantly prior to COVID over there by the port, and then it kind of went away, and so then it's now come back up. We have the same thing coming up to the council with the port, with the hotel that's talking about the Maritime Park. Obviously, we want to be consistent and work with those users so that there's not a conflict. I would say pre-COVID, I think the market was strong enough to have multiple hotels. I don't know where the market is now, and we'll have to evaluate that with council and figure out how we go forward. But I do think, you know, while it may be something we've entered into an agreement and started moving forward with Maritime Park, at some point, one way or the other, we're going to come back to the port side, because ultimately the funding that would enable would allow us to be, I guess, more aggressive with how we look at the outside the fence line of the northern portion of the port, and that's our ultimate goal. I mean, I think the public has said they would like to see other type of uses there that are compatible with downtown, but bring in additional different types of revenue. Now, we've been very adamant that there's a certain point on the port where we've put the fence line, and south of that, we're going to continue to do port-type facilities. So we're going to continue to be a port, but we do believe there are things we can do that are a little bit different. And look at what we're doing right now. We're taking care of hurricane debris out there. So again, I say thank goodness we had that property. It worked out very good for us. It could handle about half of our hurricane debris. The airport could handle the other half. So very thankful we had that.
When debris is collected and then shipped, where does it go?
I believe we have a couple places. I mean, we certainly can be sold for people to use for fuel.
It can be used for cover at different landfill sites, and it ultimately could be stored. I think we're doing a little bit of everything.
Is that a revenue source?
I mean, it comes to the contractor in the bill of what we end up getting from. I mean, it sort of chips down our bill for what we have. The ultimate part of what we end up getting billed. But I think that's the way it works out, isn't it, Keith? I mean, it gets netted against.
Contractor gets it. It becomes theirs. They sell it for, like I said, for resource recovery, for fuel, for energy generation, or.
And then what we can't sell, we have to dispose of.
So the contractor.
It all gets netted out in the contract, and then that becomes the final contract.
So it's basically their basis.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, I tell people all the time, you're looking for mulch, the City of Pensacola's got a ton of mulch. We can get you some mulch. But you know, I would love for that to go other places, but at 500,000 cubic yards just within the city and 3 million cubic yards in the county, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of vegetative debris. Well, thank you very much for coming this morning. Jeremy, next time we'll expect to see you here, so you get a pass since you were the only one last week. But otherwise, thank you very much. And we got a lot of meetings going on this week. And go Argos! We're still national champs for another year.